Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? It is Brian Phillips and Ryan Keiran here for episode 2 of Deep Down the Middle. Ryan, how are we doing, man?
I'm great, Brian. How are you? Another week, episode number 2. Let's get into it.
Guys, like we said last week, here's the format. We know the truth lies somewhere down the middle on all these issues that we hear about each week down, when we're talking about the NFL. We are going to keep this format brief, dog walking length. So let's get right into it. Ryan, we got a couple of NFL topics to go over this week really quick. Philip Rivers is going to be a free agent, has cut ties with the Los Angeles Chargers. Your thoughts?
End of an era. Obviously, it's a big QB transition year with Eli Manning retiring as well, and so it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. It obviously opens up a need for a quarterback in Los Angeles, whether through the draft or free agency. I just want to rattle off a quick list of names that I think might be interesting for Philip Rivers to land on for teams. The Bucks, Dolphins are obvious ones. Panthers, Titans, and I'm going to leave it at those four. But just all those like southeastern teams that could be in the quarterback market. That's where it seems like where he's going to end up is that southeast near his family. And I think all those teams are varying levels of intriguing there.
I've got to agree with you on the Colts. It seems like it makes too much sense. Jacoby Brissett's deal is so team friendly over there. It's obviously great backup money, but not outside of the realm of possibility, especially if they think they're in a position to add a bunch of assets this offseason and really make a push. Okay, 17-game NFL regular season on the table in talks with the NFLPA and ownership. Your thoughts, Ryan?
If you are on the podcast, which hopefully we will get up this week, we're still working through some details on that. I did a nice big thumbs down there. No, this is stupid. The math doesn't work in terms of, figuring out the games. There's no reason to expand one game. If you're going to be dead set on expanding games, you probably need to make it 18, which is counterintuitive to my thoughts on it. But you need to figure out something way more creative. If you can't do 17 games, add one bye. I think the solution, if you had to go that route, would be 18 games, add 3 byes, have a whole month of byes, extend the season, start it 2 weeks earlier, have it go into February a little bit. And that's just right off the top of my head. That's not like a fully thought out plan, but 17 games makes no sense. And it's just a stepping ground to get to 18 games. So why do that?
Here's my thoughts on it really quick, and you guys will probably notice if you're checking out the video here on Facebook Live or on YouTube, we have the Maya Stingers up for the transitions. I will be overutilizing the Maya Stingers. She is the mascot, and right now she is our biggest sponsor. So we really appreciate all of Maya's support. I have got to. I don't want to advocate for 17 games. I think it's terrible. I hate odd numbers. It's a weird thing with me. But It's all about the revenue. It's all about the dollars, right? So what are we doing with four? What are we doing with 4 preseason games? I know that all the talks are we need to get rid of some of the preseason games if we're going to add the regular season game in. I would much rather have 17 games in the regular season if it has to happen in order to get some of the things on the table that the NFLPA wants. Now, we all know anytime that that ownership wants, anytime the NFLPA wants something, ownership acts as if it's going to be this big, massive concession that they'll have to get another game of revenue out of if they want to have anything on the table, like something simple like marijuana taken away from the personal conduct policy or all these simple things. So the Patriots, the players are going to have to make a concession and add a game on for revenue at some point. It's just going to have to happen. If they want bigger things like more guarantees in their contracts, quicker, more escalating minimum salaries that affect a bigger majority of the players out there, the bigger majority of the player pool, if they want any kind of action on the franchise tag or any more power in their contracts, they're going to have to come up with something. And the biggest thing they can do is to say, yes, we'll add another game. Now, I would much rather have them, from a fan perspective, I'd much rather have that happen than they start tinkering with the playoffs and trying to add more playoff games. I think that the NFL has, right now, the best playoff system really available in the 4 major sports. Yeah, we've already gone pretty long on this, but I think somewhere down the middle is going to have to be, they're going to have to throw in a game, but you're right, they can't do it this way. 17-game season sounds kind of weird, and the way that they do it with the buys is no good. All right, moving on. Last bit of NFL news. The Super Bowl, kind of a big deal, is this week. Ryan, who is winning on Sunday?
Okay, so we were just talking about this before we recorded, but this feels like the closest Super Bowl or the hardest to handicap Super Bowl since the Broncos Seahawks, which obviously hindsight doesn't look great because the Seahawks blew them out. But going into that game, that was an all-time great defense against a record-setting offense, who also had a good defense, and the all-time great defense had a up-and-coming offense on their side. So that Super Bowl felt like it was going to be a classic, and it turned out to be one of the biggest blowouts ever. And because on that line of thinking, I can see a close San Francisco win. I can see a close Kansas City win. I can see a close Kansas City or a blowout Kansas City win. I can't see a San Francisco blowout win. So I'm leaning Kansas City just because of that. I think that their offense is just a little bit too unstoppable, and the 49ers offense is a little bit too stoppable. But I think it's going to be a really fun game between two very smart offensive coaches. I think we're going to see a lot of fun stuff in this game, and it's going to be as enjoyable as possible for a non-Patriot Super Bowl.
That's my thinking too. I can't remember being this tossed up about a non-Patriot Super Bowl. It's hard. It's hard when the Patriots are in it so often. It's hard to kind of separate exactly because we're so plugged into the Patriots all the time. It's hard to separate how we know they can play from what the numbers are telling us they can do, or what the film is telling us they can do. Because when you're really plugged into how the Patriots make adjustments, we're not, you and I aren't constantly going over every little aspect of Kyle Shanahan's playbooks or Andy Reid's play calling, and we're not sitting there grinding the film every single week on these exact offenses and seeing trends and what they do against too high looks and single high coverage, and are they gap sound when they're going too high. Like, these are the things I know I could tell you more about with the Patriots, but I can't tell you about when we're looking at two different teams that we don't see every week. So, man, I just have to. I think I'm going to go San Francisco just strictly based on the fact that Mike McGlinchey has a center bar face mask. I think that is the key this Sunday, and I think that the 49ers win by a field goal. A Robbie Gould 48-yarder as time expires.
Off of one crossbar, but not two. It goes through, and Bears fans everywhere just absolutely weep.
There you go. All right, guys. Each week we want to get more in depth into a topic that's not really being talked about. This week we wanted to talk to you a little bit about a primetime free agent that will be getting a lot of looks from a lot of teams.
We missed some big Patriots news here.
What? Patriots news? I can't. Time out. I can't talk about this right now. I thought we had an understanding. We were going to be able to move right past this.
Patriots Nation. So full disclosure, this is what we talked about this before. Brian said he wasn't ready to talk about it. Knowing that we are servants for you, I could not let him go and not mention the just groundbreaking staff change that just happened earlier today or in recent days. I apologize. Jed Fish is coming to the Patriots. How crazy is that? And also someone that is potentially the greatest offensive line coach of all time, Dante Scarnecchia, happened to retire. But Brian, how are you feeling about Dante Scarnecchia?
Man, I'm happy for him. Go home, retire, do your thing, man. It's a grind. Dante Scarnecchia has been grinding since like 1928 at this thing, man. The guy. What can you say about him that hasn't already been said a million times? Especially the last time he retired. The guy comes back and he's just as much of a legend as he was before he left. And then it would have been nice to send him out on a little better note than they did this year. But man, Dante Scarnecchia is a Hall of Fame worthy assistant coach, and we've heard up and down all over the media this afternoon here. We're recording on Tuesday night. Everybody coming out and really pouring their hearts out with love for Dante Scarnecchia, and it's obviously it couldn't be more deserved.
Yeah. You said it well. I will spare you, and we can move on real quick. I just want to hit two quick anecdotes. One, the great Trevor Sikkema at Trevor Sikkema on Twitter said that he heard a story that he can verify is true, that an offensive lineman that used to play for the Patriots went to a different team. When he got to his new team, the offensive line coach told him, just do whatever Scar told you to do. Like, that's how good he was. Offensive line coaches knew around the league, knew that they weren't going to be able to tell someone how to do something better than he did. So he came to his new team and they just said, just keep doing whatever Scar told you to do, because that's the best advice you're going to get. My second note is this is going to be a very niche thing, especially for the Facebook audience. There's a great old tweet about a screen cap of a Sunday Night Football Giants game with their athletic trainer, who had been their athletic trainer since 1948. And the great Trill Withers at Tyler I Am made a joke about how he's been there since 1948. He's still trying to put a stick of butter on a torn ACL. Dante Scarnecchia has been around that long too. That's how old Dante Scarnecchia is, and still to this very year, he was doing magic on the offensive line, and he is going to be greatly missed. So now, Brian, I will let you segue into our main segment, and now that we did that service for the fans.
Yeah, we had to do it. We're I don't know. I'm torn up now. I'm all torn up, and I'm a little verklempt. Okay. Yes, each week we do a segment, guys. We go a little deeper into a topic about the Patriots offseason. Obviously, a lot has been made about the need at tight end. They thought they could patch it over after Gronk's late retirement decision last year. That did not work out this year. We know it's been beaten. The dead horse has been beaten on that. The best opportunity to fill that void in free agency with the best player available would be Austin Hooper. So we wanted to talk just a little bit about Austin Hooper. Me and Ryan don't quite see eye to eye here. Ryan, give me the thumbs up argument for signing an Austin Hooper.
Okay, so first of all, the first thing that people are going to go to is the lack of spending in free agency that the Patriots typically do. The Stephon Gilmore contract is the best. And honestly, the Darrelle Revis contract might be the best recent example, but it's the same line of thinking for both. When Bill identifies a need and he also identifies a talent that fits that need that is worth spending for, he will go spend it. Stephon Gilmore, Brian, can you run back Stephon Gilmore's contract numbers for me real quick? Because I lost my page that had them up. But on the first night of free agency, first thing, you wake up the next morning and Stephon Gilmore is already a Patriot. You think that they're going to give that money to Malcolm Butler. He identifies the need. He identifies an opportunity to upgrade at a position that wasn't even a weakness yet. And he goes and does it. Do you have that contract?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's been restructured a couple times, but yeah, it's 5 years, 65, right. 18 up front and a signing bonus, 13 a year, which has just been bypassed by a couple of guys. I know Xavier Howard's deal in Miami passed it, but the cornerback market is going to be reset again. Byron Jones is going to get probably more than 13 a year this year on the open market, but yeah, 13 a year. Biggest. He was the highest paid corner in the league at the time of signing. So.
Right. So there's precedent there that when Bill identifies a need, and in this case, like Logan Ryan was leaving, but they still had their potential CB1 of the future in Malcolm Butler. But Bill identified that need. He identified the opportunity to upgrade. He saw what was going to be coming with Malcolm Butler, who was a limited player ultimately. And he went and got the best cornerback in football for the past 2 years on a big contract right away. So let me just propose this. Austin Hooper is 25 years old until the middle of the season, the late November. He is getting through half of next year at 25 years old. He is a top 5 receiving tight end in football. He has had one real injury in his career. That was this year, and he did not miss I think he missed a month. And he was back for the end of the season, even when the season was already lost. He fills the biggest need on this team by far, tremendously. And even though he was going to reset the tight end market, the tight end market is something that has been in need of resetting and is a little bit below expectations in terms of what they're going to make. Resetting the market for a tight end is like $11 million, which is already less than you paid Stephon Gilmore. And so if you gave him, I'm going to go extremely big here. This is the top end right now. If you gave him 6 years, $66 million, figure out the guarantees, that comes out to $11 million a year. You are getting him through his age 31 season because he is, again, still only 25 through this year. He will be turning 32 during the season where that contract ends. That is still like productive tight end range for anyone who isn't Rob Gronkowski deteriorating. Uh, you get to lock down the tight end of your future. You get to sustain this window if you can bring Tom Brady back, and you get to unlock your offense again that was just handicapped last year by the lack of tight end. And the preemptive argument against him is going to be his blocking. He is a passable blocker. I wouldn't even say he's like an above average blocker. He's a passable blocker when he needs to. But blocking tight ends are cheap. You can go get Eric Tomlinson back. He was here for a little bit earlier in the year, did a decent job, filled in at fullback before Landon Roberts took over after the Devlin and Johnson injuries. But he's a solid blocking tight end. You can get him under $1 million a year. So if you give Hooper 11, you give Tomlinson say 800,000, you're spending less than 12 million on the position, and you have your ability to go back into 12 personnel. You have your receiving threat at tight end again. You have your blocking back at tight end. And if Izzo or Lacoste beats out Tomlinson, no big deal, because then they're a better player and you're not losing anything by cutting Tomlinson.
Okay, I like it. A lot of good points. Here's my problem. My problem is, there we go. There's our Maya transition. My problem is the price, and it's not as if we're talking about a. I understand he's a talent. He's a talented kid. Really a nuanced guy with a nice route tree. He's got some good hands. Obviously the size you want, but my problem is I just hate the fact that they're pigeonholed into this need again, and I wish that the patchwork job that they did at the tight end position this past year worked out a little better, because Matt Lacoste was really I don't know how else to put it. It was a disaster. He was. They tried to get. Yeah, I mean, it was really bad. Trying to get him angles in the run game, he couldn't perform. He had trouble performing crackback blocks on like crack tosses, weak and strong. He was consistently getting blown back when they were trying to run counters, or you see them running split zone where you'll have a tight end, coming across the formation and grabbing the guy on the edge to create that cutback lane for your running back. He had trouble He had so much trouble squaring up, and it's just not something you're used to when you had years of Gronkowski and Dwayne Allen, and the Patriots want to be able to get back to that 12 personnel look, and we saw them trying to force it this year with Tomlinson and Watson and Lacoste and all different kinds of combinations, and it just didn't work. And I think it also shows how much they really missed James Devlin. In week one, we saw him actually playing a ton of that H-back role and playing a bunch of those blocking roles that they wanted, that they knew they were missing with Gronk retiring. But I'm getting back to the Hooper thing here. He's not going to provide that multiplicity for them. And I think they can't. I think they're going to have a tough time investing that many cap resources into a guy that they can't use and consider themselves as a multiple weapon, and a guy that's going to create mismatches where they can say, okay, we're in 11 personnel. We can run the football effectively, consistently in 11 personnel. Obviously, you'd love the passing game threat. And we talk about this every week, you and I, Ryan, but like you could throw the running game out the window. That would be great. But the fact of the matter is this team wants to run the football. And they want to get that play action passing game established, even though we'll talk about that in another week as far as that correlation goes. But I just don't see them giving that kind of money to a guy that they can't trust to be that multiple package type of threat. And it's going to be a problem when you look at the 30% rule in the CBA. And with Tom Brady's contract up in the air right now, it's so tough to project what they're going to be able to spend. You also have to take into account right now, Miguel at Pats Cap on Twitter has them around $29 million in cap space. That's with Tom Brady not coming back. If you factor in Tom Brady coming back, then you also have to take into account the fact that he can't have a low year one cap hit. And that's going to be the same thing with Austin Hooper too. You can't sign a free agent and have that low first year cap hit. because of this CBA expiring, you can't have the year 2 jump in the contract. So it's going to create these. You're going to have to get Austin Hooper, and you're going to have him playing in 2020 on a higher cap hit than you normally would. Whereas Stephon Gilmore's first year cap hit was manageable because you could spread so much of that signing bonus out. So we'll go into more of the details with the cap stuff, especially when we talk about Brady down the road. But I just cannot see them coming around to giving that, putting that many resources into one pass catching tight end. Ryan, where is the down the middle view on the tight end position right now? Then where is that common ground?
Okay, so let me make one more case for Austin Hooper, and then I will get to that common ground. So the last point that I want to make is going back to the Revis and the Gilmore signings, which is a little bit unfortunate because now the easy road to go down is they value cornerback like that because they're both cornerback positions. But I think in both cases that was a significant position of need and a superior talent at that position. Both times it just happened to be a cornerback. I think this philosophy goes with any position they value, and they clearly value tight end like that. It was basically in when they signed Stephon Gilmore. It was sign Stephon Gilmore or put that money into Malcolm Butler, and you don't really have an opportunity to get better otherwise. It was Stephon Gilmore or you're not really upgrading. It was Darrelle Revis or you're not really upgrading. And they saw that if they were going to be a Super Bowl team and maintain that Super Bowl level, they were going to need an upgrade. And they went and they spent that money. In this year's class, there's no great tight end prospect this year. There's a couple who are like early day 2, round 2, middle round 2 guys, but there's no elite tight end prospect at a position where rookie year tight ends historically don't perform at all anyway. Like
right.
A good rookie tight end year is like 500 yards and a touchdown or 2. That is like, you are going to be pretty good as a rookie if you can clear that 500-yard benchmark receiving. So especially if Tom Brady is back, you aren't bringing in a rookie tight end hoping to fix this offense from last year because you're probably getting more of the same of that for a year. Now, the down the middle argument would be then that if you don't go top money for Austin Hooper, you go for one of those second tier guys, like ideally the clear second best option if he hits the market is Hunter Henry. He is a player that is just about, if not as talented, if not better than Austin Hooper when fully healthy. The issue there is injuries. Are they going to want to go back down that injury rabbit hole that they've been in with Gronk? Hunter Henry's had a very similar career injury-wise. I don't want to say similar because it's been more like freak type knee stuff than like the recurring back issues that Gronk had. But think like Gronk's arm injury that ended up, he had to wear the monster arm for the rest of his career. That's the type of injuries that Henry's had. Sorry. After that, you're looking at a pretty big drop off where you're looking at like someone like Eric Ebron, who doesn't solve the blocking issues that you're talking about, or a Darren Fells, who is a limited receiver, Mercedes Lewis, who solves the blocking issues, doesn't solve the receiving issues, etc. So that down the middle would be one of those second tier tight ends, but I do think that lowers the ceiling of the position.
Yeah, I agree with you. The tight end class is a little thin. Obviously, everybody's got their mind on Thaddeus Moss. Who doesn't? I would love him too. Yeah, he's going to be the guy who'll come in and like bruise for you. He's got some development to.
I was gonna say I also don't think he's going to be particularly good in the NFL, but I don't like saying
right at this point he's got a lot of stuff to figure out. But we're still.
There's a lot of fun in his Randy Moss. Stuff,
right, so. Exactly. So right now I think. For me, the down the middle would be a Darren Fells type. Now you're still going to be looking at, a good chunk of change for a guy like Darren Fells. And so, in my opinion, I think a good route would be, and again, this is not going to solve your blocking issues because these tight ends don't. A good versatile tight end, these guys don't grow on trees. We know that. It's why the tight end position is so thin in the NFL in general. That even extends to like fantasy football. We see that in fantasy football. It's just it's a thin position, and these guys are rare. It's a rare breed. But I could see them going after a guy, maybe offering a restricted free agent tender contract to a guy like Ricky Seals-Jones, who can give them some downfield explosiveness. He's not going to provide much in way of blocking. But you're right. The bruisers and the blockers are there on the market, but you gotta find an upgrade over what Matt LaCosse did last year. And if Matt LaCosse is your tight end too, again going into 2020, it's not the end of the world, but you cannot be rolling him out as your tight end one and expect any improvement at the position, even if you have a rookie behind him with depth. So yeah, down the road argument, you're gonna have to sign a middle of the road free agent if you really want to address this position without having to break the bank. Ryan, going into the final segment here, where each week we each wrap for 2 minutes apiece on either a special a free agent target or a draft prospect or an acquisition we're looking for. Who is your guy this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to go rapid fire a little bit because I pushed us a little bit long on that Hooper segment. So I'll clear some of my time for you here. I'm just going to straight up read off my bullet points. So my guy is Carl Joseph, safety for the Raiders. He's an upcoming free agent, former first-round pick. Took a while to really get going and kind of became a solid player last year. Probably not in the Raiders' future plans, but he's only 26. The safety position needs an infusion of youth. He can play that hybrid role that they like for their secondary safeties, like Devin McCourty is the deep safety, but outside of that, they like guys who can drop into coverage or come up to the line. He's someone that can do that. If you want to move on from Patrick Chung, he can fill into that role. Or if Devin McCourty leaves, you want to slide Daron Harmon into that Devin McCourty role, he can take over the Daron Harmon role. He just gives you options because of that versatility. You hope that you can coach him up a little bit and you can make him a serviceable player. Like Ryan Anderson, who we talked about last week, he's not going to change your defense, but he's that nice middle depth that the Patriots are so good at finding that keeps them good year over year. And he should be cheap enough, again, like Ryan Anderson, that if he doesn't work out, you can move on from him after a year.
Okay. Guys, this week I am going to go with, excuse me, hold on. Just wanted to get myself a little Maya stinger there. There we go. What's up, Maya? So last year, we all knew wide receiver was a huge need. The Patriots obviously agreed. They went N'Keal Harry the first round. There are going to be possibly somewhere between 8 and 10 wide receivers taken in the first 2 rounds of this draft. That's how deep this wide receiver class is. And with all of the Patriots' needs on the offensive side of the football, wide receiver is still one of them. With Philip Dorsett going to be leaving. Obviously, we know all about the woes of Mohamed Sanu adjusting to the offense, but this offense needs speed, and it's something that we've just been grinding, and talking about to death all year long, and it could have been solved last year in the draft with the selection of a guy like Mecole Hardman that we were big on over at Pats Pulpit, specifically myself, and we're going to see him on Sunday with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that guy obviously is Henry Ruggs in this draft. The Patriots, I do not think, will be drafting high enough to have an opportunity for Henry Ruggs, nor do I think they would go another year of taking a wide receiver in the first round. But they need to find a way. If they can find a way to get their hands on KJ Hamler from Penn State, I think that is the kind of guy that can provide that spark that these offenses in the NFL are all looking for now. We've seen it with this horizontal fly sweep motion pre-snap stuff. You want a speedster that can put stress on the defenses horizontally as well as vertically. And the Patriots simply do not have that guy right now. We know that. Again, we've talked about it to death. They've tried to use James White in that role with laser motion out of the backfield, orbit motion, some of the jet sweep stuff, a ton of end around jet sweep stuff, with N'Keal Harry this year and Julian Edelman. But if you want a guy that can house one, you draft KJ Hamler. The guy is an absolute bullet. He's a little guy. He's little. He's 5'8", 5'9", probably not even pushing $180. But he's gonna rip off an easy 4.3. He's a slot guy. You get him a two-way go out of the slot, and just let him work. He is going to be spectacular. And it's this new breed of player in the NFL. Find a way to get this guy the football out of the slot and let him do his thing. He's tough, and he's obviously not going to have a huge catch radius or anything like that. But if you can find a way to get the football in his hands, I think it's going to be he's going to help some offense take a huge step forward in 2020. And if the Patriots get him, I think they can find a way to make his skills work for them. So guys, that is going to do it for this week. Again, we ran a little long, but hey, we're still getting the hang of this thing. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Ryan, anything to leave the people with?
Nah, let's get out of here. Have a good night, you guys.
You got it, guys. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan_Keiran. You can follow me on there as well at BPhillips_SB. Make sure to go to PatsPulpit.com throughout the entire offseason, guys. The coverage is going to be there breaking down all of the Patriots news. And if unfortunately you're going to have to go there and read some Dante Scarnecchia RIP articles, we miss you already, Dante. But guys, seriously, thank you so much for tuning in to Deep Down the Middle. We will catch you next Wednesday.